came in the mail today, and I think it is my chalk paint, which I am so excited. I've been waiting for it. I have a slew of projects that I have been wanting to do with chalk paint. And we got home from running errands, and there was a little box waiting for me on my front doorstep, and it is my Annie Sloan chalk paint. So I can't wait to show you what I'm going to do with it.
So the first project is a key ring. It's dark brown with silver hooks. It's not horrible, it's just not really my style. So first you want to remove the hooks, lay them on a flat surface, and then we're going to take some Krylon spray paint. I use the oil rubbed bronze, and you're basically just going to start spraying. And after they're done drying, you want to turn them over, and sometimes maybe a little bit of paper or something might be stuck to it, but you just kind of wipe it off. It's not a big deal. And then you give them a coat on the other side.
So as always, before we paint, we want to sand. So I have some 400 grit sandpaper here, and I'm just going to lightly rough up the surface. Then you just get any cloth to wipe it off. Sometimes I've even used socks that don't have a match that are obviously clean, but I like to use socks that don't have matches for cleaning rags or, you know, for projects like this. So I'm gonna get my Annie Sloan chalk paint that came in the mail. So I'm using the color cream, and we're gonna see how it goes. We're going to leave this to dry, and while it's drying, we're going to start our second project. I got these candlesticks at a garage sale. I think they were maybe 25 cents, 50 cents at the most, and I am going to use actually a little bit rougher sandpaper on these because they're metal instead of wood, and so I got 100 grit sandpaper. So we're going to go ahead and sand these down before we start painting. All right, they're sanded and they are wiped off, and we're ready to start painting these. While my candlestick's dry, it's time to put the second coat on our keyring. All right, I went out for a little jog. It's been about 30 minutes, and we're ready to put the third and hopefully final coat on. Oh no, I just dropped it and got leaves all over it. That's a pain. All right, this one is done. On to the candlesticks. So my candlesticks and my little keyring thing they have 3 coats each of the chalk paint, and so now it is time to apply either wax or polyurethane. Though they make a wax that comes with the chalk paint, but that is an additional, I think it was $16, which right now it's really not that expensive, and eventually I do want to get it, but I've already got this polyurethane, and so I'm just going to use it for now. And the polyurethane works pretty well, really. So if you wanted to go ahead and spring for the wax, you could, but the polyurethane is pretty good. I'm actually using an old sock that it has a hole at the end, and it's clean, of course, and that is what I'm going to apply the polyurethane with. So I shook it up really well before I opened it, and then I'm just gonna dip my sock in like this, and then I'm gonna start at the bottom. Now polyurethane does have a little bit of a yellowish tint, so that's okay for this project that I'm working on because I'm using a cream colored of chalk paint. But if you are doing an ultra white, you may want to stay away from polyurethane. You may want to do more of the actual I lost my train of thought. The actual wax that comes with the chalk paint. All right, and that's all for now. We're gonna wait for that to dry. I'm probably gonna do 2 coats and then put on the glaze. This is my third and final chalk paint project for today. It is an old mirror that I got on the the Facebook Marketplace page for $5. You can see there at the bottom it has that awful pinkish strip thing. Looks like maybe it came from a hotel. Anyways, I don't know the story on this mirror, but I got it for $5, and so I'm gonna try to fix it up and make it look cute. So I've already sanded it, and I've already done the blue paint. One thing that really helps me get a lot done in a short amount of time is this trick of putting the paintbrush, wrapping it up in a bag. That way I can just leave it out and go. I can come back and do a second coat in about 5 minutes, take off my gloves, wrap up my paintbrush, and I can move on about my business. All right, so we've done 3 coats of the chalk paint. We've done 2 coats of the polyurethane. And now it's time to add that dark kind of old world look. You can either get the wax that comes with the chalk paint, or I just use wood stain. This is way cheaper than the wax. I think wood stain you can get for maybe $5, and the wax is at least 16 is the cheapest that I've seen it. You can absolutely get the wax, it might be easier, but I mean, wood stain works for me. So what I do is I rub it on kind of where I want it. Let me go a little closer. So you can see it looks like that. And then you take the sock and kind of wipe it off like that, and then part of it stays on. And you just kind of wipe as much or as little as you want, depending on how dark you want the line to be. So that's how it looks, and I like it. So that we've already painted, and we're just gonna put them on. And here's the final product. I love it. Sticks. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with them. I may just want to leave them alone, but I'm going to try to put a little bit of dark on it and just kind of see how it goes. I might end up wiping it off though. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not. All right, so as I do this, what I'm finding that I like is I'll wipe it on and then just kind of run my finger kind of down the middle. And that leaves it on the edges like that. Ooh, I really like how these are turning out. So I'm just gonna wipe it on the edge and wipe in the middle. Then on the top here, I'm just gonna kind of go around the ring like that. And get a clean spot and just make sure it's not too much. These are the final project. I absolutely love how they turned out. You can see here real close where the edging, like I put it on and I wiped it off and just left a little bit on the edges. So this is kind of how the final project turned out. And I love how they look. I'm gonna show you kind of what I was doing. Basically just taking the sock, going along the very, very, very outer edge. Whoopsies, I had that a little bit too much, but that's okay because that's gonna be on the outer side and no one's gonna see it. So I'm just kind of gonna go like that. And you can see it's just kind of barely on there. Okay, and then I get a relatively clean part of the sock like that right there. Then I go back and kind of smudge it a little bit. And just kind of lightly feathers it. At the top here, I'm going to take it and just kind of barely go on the outside edge there. And then I'm going to take a relatively clean-ish part and just kind of feather it. You already see those lines right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and highlight those. So since you can already see them, I'm just going to go ahead and draw attention to them. And kind of go back over and feather that out. Alright, so I didn't like what I had because the lines were too defined. So I actually just took some chalk paint and I went over it again with chalk paint. I like that one. So that's kind of the look that I'm going for. And one thing that I love that my grandmother taught me was just not to be afraid to try something. I remember, I think I was sewing something one time and I was asking her how to do it. And she basically just said, I don't know, just try it one way. If you don't like it, rip it out and try it again. And I just love that attitude of hers. So I would encourage you, just try something. If you don't like it, paint over it and try again. That's what's so great about paint, is that you can just, if you don't like it, paint over it. It's not like you're gonna ruin it. So it's worth taking the time to get it just right. You know, once you hang it up, you wanna be proud of it. So if you don't like it, repaint it and try it again.
It took me several tries, but this is the final product and I absolutely love it. It's hanging in our foyer and it really opens it up. I hung the key ring next to it. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna put these guys, but for now they're just hanging out here, and I absolutely love the final product, how they turned out. If you like this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That way you don't miss any content and more people can find it.